The Dead Pair Podcast is brought to you by Kolar Arms, America's competition shotgun, and is fueled by Fiocchi.
Welcome to the Dead Pair Podcast, coming in hot with everything you want to hear about sporting clays. With your hosts, Jason Rambo.
This is what I have to work with, everyone.
And Sean Alley.
Like I said, I was just thirsty.
Oh, boy.
Often imitated, but never duplicated. It's the Dead Pair Podcast. It's showtime.
Welcome back, everyone. We are now here, part 2. I don't know what, David, I think we're going to call this SDS with David Riblet and Tracy Wright. Tracy, I tell you what, and also, everyone, there's no tourney talk again this week. Bunch of stuff happening. It's all coming up. Casey emailed me, said she's got a bunch of stuff coming, but it wasn't available yet, and I didn't want to announce it too soon. Also, we have got a huge make or break update coming. Ed Pritchell's going to join us for that one. Give everybody the update on the scores on that, so hang tight. Tracy, would you kind of, if you would, summarize a little bit where we left off last week? I want to dive right back into this with David because I want to know how pressure affects everything he was talking about. But would you give us a little brief summary, sir?
Yeah, basically, kind of in lieu of your win at Ohio, has kind of led us to discuss process, pre-shot routine. What are the keys to consistency? And I think that we've got one of the kings of consistency, David, with us, and he has put up some incredible performances. And so I think we're trying to dive into David's brain. Scary place.
Yes.
No, I'm just kidding.
For me too. I'm going to have nightmares.
What's that?
I said, for me too, I'm about to have nightmares tonight.
No, but it's very interesting. It's great to get this perspective.
This is what makes me mad about David, though, because I know what he's capable of, yet we only see glimpses of him at a tournament throughout the year, and it's like, dude, you could be the next GOAT. What are you doing? It's like, well, I got my guitar and I got my code that I'm writing and I got my car. I've got to find a generator to plug into. And, we get all this stuff. Doesn't it make you mad though? Don't you want to see our buddy Dave on the course more often, Trace?
Well, absolutely. I think David already is a GOAT, but I think that, I'd love to see David win even more and reach his potential. I think it's extremely high.
Well, when I said GOAT, I meant greatest of all time. We all know he's got a head like a goat. I just was.
No, that's an elephant.
Okay. Yeah. I was going to send him one of our new flat bills because I know he likes them, but we only have extra large in their snapback, and he'd have to sew like extra snaps in order to get out of it.
Get a hat extender.
Yeah, a hat extender. So David, where we left off, you were talking about how all of that changes pair to pair and the amperage and everything else. But then when we had started that conversation, you were like, you almost need something on the line. You need that added pressure. So how does that affect things? Like you're pair to pair, but then somewhere in that round, if that's an important tournament to you, that pressure starts to add to it, right? Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah. I mean, here's an objective way of looking at everything that I'm saying. It is a fair criticism to say that everything that I'm doing is trying to manipulate a weak mental state into being able to perform well. Because you could, like, if you talk to, here's people that would have a large contrast to the way that they approach the game mentally to me. Derek Mine, Mike Wilgus, Brandon Powell, George Digweed, all of those guys probably would not be able to understand, not intellectually understand, but they would not be able to competitively relate to the way that I experience shooting. And to them, hearing another competitor say that they struggle with feeling engaged and feeling pressure, it can be interpreted as like a defeatist mindset, because you can it's essentially like starting the round not feeling like you can win and trying to manipulate your mind into performing well. It's totally fair criticism. And it's one that I like to experiment with a lot. To me, that's very valid because I need to make sure that I'm not actually doing that to myself,
Mm-hmm.
And so to answer your question about how pressure influences all of those things, the answer to it is that it literally is completely random, and it is
Random. Wait a minute. Random in what aspect? Like, what do you mean?
It's in a way that's very frustrating to me, which is that what I feel pressure on or from is not something that I can predict or make sense of.
Okay.
Like it is completely not in my own control. I have had days, Jason, where like a perfect example of this is what was the U.S. Open that Wendell just recently won? It was like 2024 U.S. Open,
Yeah,
I think.
that was it in Arizona.
Tucson, right?
Tucson, yeah.
In Tucson, yeah.
I watched it.
I was, I think, tied with him going into the last day. Like every day, the U.S. Open is a tournament that I generally really care about because I'm a big golf fan, and that's a big tournament in golf, and so the title translates to me in shooting, and I like how it moves around, and just so like what you were talking about with the Ohio State Championship.
Mm-hmm.
To me, I would rather win a U.S. Open than a national championship every day. Not because it's a bigger tournament, because it's not, but it's just because I care about it more. And that's very evident by my performances at the Nationals compared to the U.S. Open. I've won 3 U.S. Opens, come runner-up at 3 U.S. Opens, and I've won 0 national championships. But so this is a U.S. Open. I would say to me, the second most important tournament to me that I care about. And pressure-wise, it was perfect the first 2 days. Like I went out, started the first station on the first day on Friday, and like I got nervous and like my hands were shaking as I'm trying to load the gun, and I'm just like, thank God, this is awesome, because it's a rarity that I feel that way when I start a tournament, and when I do, it's like a blessing, honestly, and I was able to harness that and have it work for me the whole round. And then I go into the second day, same thing. And then I'm looking at the scores, and I'm going into the U.S. Open on Sunday, on the first U.S. Open that we ever had with a pro squad. And, so the squads get rescheduled. I'm on the very first squad for the U.S. Open. It was like Mike Luongo, Derek Mine, myself, Wendell Cherry, and maybe Gebbin. I don't remember who the 5th person was, but that's like the perfect scenario for me, like a pro squad at a major event that I care about, that I'm easily in contention to win. And every day on the way to the course, the first 2 days, like as I'm driving in, I'd get emotional. Like it overcomes my body. Like it's almost like it's almost like this weird feeling where you feel like you're about to cry and you don't know why. And it's just because it means a lot, and it's important, and you care, and you've sacrificed a lot to be there. And I'm driving to the tournament on Sunday morning, completely flat, no emotion. And as I'm driving in, it's like I was like, oh, this is not good. I have to figure out a way to get that back, because I don't know why. I got myself to the place that I really care about, and I'm in the perfect place, and all of a sudden I don't care. And I start the round, zero emotional impact of the environment around me, having a hard time focusing, and stumbled around to try to find something to get it to work. And in 3 stations left, I was at the point where I was tied for the lead. And then I came to a station that it was hard, and it was an opportunity. It was targets I'm really good at, opportunity for me to take the lead, and completely flat again. And I couldn't focus, like attention wise. I didn't have the ability to get in tune with the bird. I think I dropped 3 targets. And at that point I was like, what can I do now to get Wendell to win? And that makes no sense. It should have been the complete opposite of that. if there was any days that I should have no emotional response, it'd be the first two, driving to the club. And when I see a target that I'm super hyper confident on, I could shoot from the hip and run 100 straight and know that I could beat anybody in the world at. It was this true pair of tower targets that I lost. I didn't care. And so it's just like, you know, the pressure is completely random. And when I get it, I try my best to keep it, but I can't always.
Well, I got a question for Tracy. Now, obviously pressure does the opposite to me, but what David's talking about there, like having it and losing it, the feeling, right?
Yeah.
Tracy, you know what I'm talking about? You show up at the club, the gun feels right, the moves, everything just feels effortless, and you flow, and it's like I could shoot with my eyes closed and hit these targets, right?
Yeah.
And then you come to, well, like I did on Sunday at the Ohio State, everything felt wrong. The gun didn't feel right. I was tired. I was not seeing targets good. And in that mental state, it's like I'm fighting. It's like, how do I get this back? And that's why, you know, I told David, like, every single target on Sunday was a fight. I had to work for every single target and keep clawing and fighting because there was a lot on the line for me and I didn't want to give up. But so how does a person even begin to get back to that mental state?
You know, the only way that I have been able to manipulate my mental state is through other people. And, you know, for instance, you know, I was in Montana at one point in time. I was on a squad. It was a state championship. It was the first time I'd shot with this group of people. And I remember going, oh my God, it's got the energy of a funeral. I mean, it feels like I just walked into a morgue here.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait, you know, I'm not shooting, you know, I'm down quite a few targets the first 3 stations. I'm like, I got to change this. And so I spent the next couple of stations rallying the troops, basically trying to bring everybody up, telling them, good job, nice job, high fives, all this stuff to bring them up. But as a collateral effect, it brought me up. So before you know it, we're 5 stations in and the entire squad is a totally different squad. So I think you have to take kind of a backdoor approach on trying to change your own status, your own mental status. And you've got to change those around you for the best, for the better, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that's really the only like highly successful way that I've done it. You know, I think the process is kind of the process and pre-shot routine are kind of designed to kind of mitigate the amount of change you get from day to day. But I think that the best way to go about it is by changing your squad mates or bringing your other guys up.
Well, you know, like I said, pressure affects me opposite what it is, David. And, you know, something, you know, credit to Brandon Powell. One of the things that always stuck in my mind, he said, is you got to shoot like it doesn't matter when it matters the most. Now, for somebody like...
It was kind of like that with shoot-offs for the longest time with me. And then you find this, you know, I think it might have been, you know, from shooting with Mike Wilgus. Mike Wilgus is one of the best competitors I think I've ever shot with in my life. He lives it. He breathes it. He's just an absolute competitor to the core. Whatever game he plays, he's going to compete at a high level because he knows how to be a competitor. But it was really about learning to harness whatever emotion, whatever you're feeling at that moment and turn it into positive energy. And it's very much what David's talking about, you know, taking a subpar emotional status and turning it into a good one.
Yeah.
Once you learn how to utilize it, it was like every time I got pulled for a shoot off, I was like, oh yes, I'm really going to shoot well. You know, I looked forward to him because it was this ultimate energy. That it was hard to duplicate in, you know, from box or station to station. But learning to convert whatever emotion or energy that you're having into a favorable emotion and learn to convert it into fuel, I think it's highly possible. And it sounds like, you know, David does it all the time, you know.
Yeah, to varying degrees of success.
Well, but I mean, you know, a lot of people listening to this now, look, I'm very good friends with David and I understand him probably more than most, but at the same time, I'm also, I don't want to say simple-minded, but like I have a more simplistic approach to things. Okay. And like, I'm always telling David, everything we do together, he's got this complex way of going about something. And it's like, David, I keep stressing the KISS method. Keep it simple, stupid. but that's just David, and he thrives on that kind of stuff. A lot of listeners, David, you're sitting there giggling. A lot of listeners feel the same way, and that's why half the comments I get absolutely love having you on. The other half are telling me, man, he just loses me. Mm-hmm. Okay. And it's not that these other people like me are simple-minded. That's not what I'm saying. It's just they have a more simplistic approach to it. So if you take everything David's explained, Tracy, and you had to simplify it for a student or anybody that's listening that maybe David did lose a little bit, could you simplify it for us? How do they get that back? How, based on the way David does it?
Well, I mean, and that's, to me, I have always simplified kind of where you need to be based off brain speed. And I had a really unique experience where I had working in a psychiatric treatment center for behavioral children for almost 30 years.
Wow.
Taking so many clients to neurofeedback or a neuropsychologist, and working with that neuropsychologist to basically capitalize on all the perfect moments for that client. How do we get this client to the next level? It was so incredibly valuable, because we're working with so many different people with so many different diagnoses, and most of our clients have multiple complex diagnoses. So, and they might have 30 to 40 different behaviors attached to 3 or 4 very complex diagnoses. And, 2 or 3 of those diagnoses can drive the same behavior. So you really have to kind of dissect where they're coming from. But my job was really to simplify things as much as possible, and really getting a glimpse into this neuropsychology and basically seeing what is the appropriate brain speed and how do we identify when we're not in that perfect place.
Tracy, are you talking about like brain wave, like Hertz frequency?
Yeah, to a degree. That measures your brain frequency, your brain speed. And then you can learn to identify with coping tools, basically, like I found active listening very effective in helping me identify. That's why I had kind of a 1 second pause that I had to fill. So basically, if I didn't force myself to create this space, a lot of times I would fill it intermittently. But if I forced myself to have a 1 second pause, I had to routinely fill it with that same coping strategy. That coping strategy basically allowed me to identify, am I too quick psychologically or am I too slow psychologically? And that would help me basically make the adjustment. So basically I could either speed up my routine, I could get more aggressive, I could slow down my routine, or I could get maybe a little bit more feel oriented to slow me down a little bit. Or I could select maybe a different method or whatnot that would allow me to spend a little bit more time with the target, maybe give my hands a little bit more feedback or whatnot. But basically, I've been to a point where I keep it as simple as possible, because I think, like what you're telling me, do you feel like, David, that some of these liberties that you can take and the reason why you react differently to pressure is because the absolute number of rounds and the number of tournaments that you've been able to go to in your life?
Ooh.
So do you think it would be different for somebody who only gets to shoot 5,000 rounds a year and goes to
that is a great question.
Or 2 majors?
You
know what I mean?
That is a great question.
Their reaction to pressure, their reaction to kind of the nonchalant attitude or that day 3 numbness is probably going to feel different to that person, don't you think?
Yeah, I actually think about that a lot. And what I think that it is because I've been shooting for 27 years now in the NSCA, and I just crossed 100,000 targets. And like I typically shoot between 4,000 to 6,000 registered birds a year.
Which is actually fairly low compared to your peers, don't you think? I think a lot of the people competing against you are probably shooting 8 to over 10,000, right?
Yeah, some of them are like 15 to 17.
Yeah.
And what I attribute that to is actually, now I've been if you like, I think Wendell's been shooting for 32 years. Zach is probably a little over 30 some years. So I'm basically, Bill McGuire around 30 years. If you look at the guys that you think of having done this for a long time, have only been doing it 4 years less, but I'm much younger. And so what that means is that I haven't shot a whole lot quantitatively, but when I did start doing it, I was at the age where my personality was hugely influenceable, and the malleability of like my neuroplasticity, my personality formed around competing. Because as a 9-year-old kid, my whole world was this. And if all of those other guys, other than like Anthony and Corey and maybe Brad, but still with those guys, I think I started when I was younger. And so it is kind of, for me, what I think that caused that is that it has nothing to do with any experience that I got through a volume of shooting. But what it actually was that within 2 to 3 years of my shooting, I realized, like, I made the connection in the very simplistic sense that negative emotion hurts my rounds. And I need to learn to suppress negative emotion, whether that be anger or fear or anything like that. And so basically at the age of 10, I learned that in shooting, I need to be able to control and suppress a negative emotion, which then at that age, if you get good enough to do that, to win major championships. By the time I was 12, I was winning, major events. And so if you get that good at that in a game in which you can sign up to practice the equivalent of psychological cognitive behavioral therapy, I unintentionally became very good at becoming self-aware of my emotional state and self-regulating it in a way that actually is very detrimental to life, because I never thought about the impact of being super good at suppressing, which then leads to repressing negative emotion in a game, and how that would impact everything else that you go through. But I did learn the importance of an insane level of emotional and physical self-awareness. And I think that that's why I'm able to do that, and why that I actually just default to that, because it's actually a very intuitive part of my personality, which is also why I think it's dangerous for other people that haven't had similar things. Like, for example, I can take a brand new shooter in a lesson, and I get this type of people a lot, because the people that listen to me on podcasts, generally the people that think, oh yeah, I would like to take a lesson from that guy, are people who like are into like meditating, or I would say jokingly hippie stuff. And it's true though. I am filming this in a Tesla at a supercharger.
Oh my God.
With sandals on, by the way. So they could be a brand new shooter, but be someone who practices like yoga or meditation or mindfulness, and immediately have success in doing this crazy approach mentally to shooting.
But see, that's also
really interesting.
I'm sorry, David. Hold your thought there a second. But that's also where some of that disconnect comes from. If you don't mind my asking, you're what, 31, 32? 33. Okay. Mm-hmm. Look at the amount of people, a lot of which are listening to this podcast, that at that age just started shooting. Yeah. You've done this your whole life, and you started at a young age, and you've developed all of this through that. And they're listening to this going, what in the Sam hell is this guy talking about? But it's look, you've got students, I'm sure, that are your age or a little older that just started shooting, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
But that's that advantage you have, and guys like you and Bill and Wendell and all the people you named that have shot for that long, they have that catalog, right? They have that card index in their brain.
Well, and even though that you've got, did you say under 100,000 registered targets?
No, I literally like last week got the pin in the mail for 100,000.
See, that's exceptional because most of the guys I think that you're shooting against are pretty close to 175 to 200,000. You know,
Yeah.
But so would you say that in your shooting development that you've shot more? I mean, how many U.S. Opens and how many nationals have you shot, David? Have you shot every national since you started?
I think maybe 2 years. I would say I'm at like almost 25 national championships, probably almost 25 U.S. Opens.
And see, and I think that makes a difference as well. So are you shooting,
Sure.
You know what I mean? Is somebody shooting club level shoots, state level shoots? Are they shooting US Opens and nationals? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I truly feel like if I go to a nationals, at the end of the week, I'm shooting probably better than I did all year. Or if I go to a Worlds or if I go to a US Open, at the end of that week, I'm shooting better than I did the entire year.
Yes. Yeah.
So
yeah, I completely agree.
Rolling.
It definitely has to impact that. And I think also that's a little bit why, like, the overexposure to that thing is why, that example I gave of the US Open where I got flat, that was probably my 21st one or 22nd US Open, and it's easy to disassociate if that's the case. It's hard to disassociate if you're there and what you're experiencing is like, holy cow, what a crazy experience. It's so in your face that you can't forget about it.
Yes. Yeah. And so, and that's why I teach, I think, very, very systematically. I have kind of a curriculum. I teach variations where I try and teach my students to identify their own brain speed. And I start to kind of give them tools to start playing with that, so they can go, oh, wow, I didn't hear, or I can't hear the birds, or I can't hear the wind, and then I teach them to couple it with a visual aid. So look for wind, look for birds, and then try and couple that with sound. I mean, it usually helps kind of bring them to the right place. But so yes, Jason, I teach kind of a very in my mind, a fairly simplistic approach to consistency in that fashion. But I think that David has shot at a very high level for a long time. And I think that you've had an opportunity to be in a lot of different situations. That certainly.
Well, there's one thing go ahead, David.
I think it would be important to say that I would discourage, just in case that gets cut off and you can't hear it well, I would not encourage anybody to start off trying to do what I'm talking about. I think the only way, and it's the way that I went through it, and is the only way that I think I got to where I am. Another thing that I do equally as much as I shoot and teach is I do a lot of, coding and stuff on the computer. I'm a massive nerd. If you're trying to test a data set, you have to have, and you're trying to understand the quality of it, you can't do 100 different tests one time. You have to run the same test 100 times to understand if the consistency of it creates the same output every single time, and only then will you know what is good or bad. And so I hugely believe that when you're starting out, you need to, like, I think in this sense, I don't like the word simplistic or something, only because it seems like it's devaluing that, when in reality it is the foundation of what I am doing. I would not be able to do what I'm doing now if for 17 years I didn't have the exact same 36.2 second pre-shot routine that I could repeat exactly every single time and get to the point where I had thousands of examples that had different outputs. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I confess, I actually timed you at nationals one time, and it was exactly the same every single time. So that's my confession.
Based on the new rules, he's had to shorten it quite a bit. So
yeah, exactly.
I just figured out, Tracy. I figured out how to fix both of you. Tracy, your lottery ticket is to take David on as a student. David, what's going to fix you? You need to go to your parents' house, collect any inheritance you have left, and book a flight to Washington.
As long as I'm going to require him to sign a release form before he starts teaching me.
And an NDA. So.
Yeah. No, I don't care about the NDA. Nobody wants to listen to it anyway.
Yeah. I can just hear it now.
I'd happily listen to it.
I can just hear it now. Tonight on national news, 2 sporting clay shooters stuck gun barrels in their mouths. So anyway. No, okay, so let's, we're all about trying to help everyone. So if we're breaking this down, this whole conversation started because of my win and, the conversation that David and I had. And so how can we break this down? How can we simplify this for someone? Why don't you take the lead on this, Tracy, and David, you kind of fill in any blanks or jump in when you can. Tracy, if somebody's wanting to put together, call it a pre-shot routine or just a routine in general, what are the key elements of that you feel, based on what you and David are talking about, that need to be included to help someone develop something that works for them?
I think that self-awareness piece, and I know that David has talked about this in depth, but I think that self-awareness piece is critical.
Yeah.
And I think that with that self-awareness, you are going to understand how to utilize the tools in your pre-shot routine. I think you're going to understand how to better develop a process around each shot. I think that through this conversation, I think that we've identified that we all experience kind of similar things in a different way and differently in our environment. And I think identifying our own set of tools is going to be critical. I think having a really concrete process, and I think that we've all kind of discussed it when we shot our best, we had a pretty good process and we had a pretty good understanding, with some anomalies with David. but I think that ultimately, if you want to expedite your learning process and if you want to become a better shooter, I think the more detailed and systematic you are about how you approach it is going to help you accelerate your learning curve.
Yeah.
That's all, David? That's all you have is yeah? That's the first time in recorded history that's all you have is yeah.
No, one thing that I want to say is because I don't want it to get buried, is that it's something that Tracy mentioned that is, I don't think people realize how important that it is. And I may be conflating two things, but you were talking about the 1 second pause and how, like that comes from like active listening and brain speed and everything.
Yeah.
And literally, if people want, really, I think that's probably the most important thing said on this whole podcast, because if you want a simplified version for what somebody can take out of this whole conversation to help them immediately improve, it's that. And the reason is because that of the thousands of people that, if you add together, that Tracy and I have stood behind to watch shoot in a lesson, or that we can just observe out on a course during a tournament as we're driving through the event, the biggest problem, well, probably not the biggest problem, but a massive problem that so many people have is that I would say, actually, I would argue that every human being has, is that we get so easily swept into this reactive closed loop system
Yes.
of not being able to step outside of it and observe actually how we are thinking, and how the fact that we're completely just responding without thinking.
It's almost like a vacuum. Yes.
Complete vacuum
Yes.
of responsive output that most of the time has zero evidence for the purpose of doing it. And if that statement even makes sense. And if people can, whether it be in between each pair or before they walk into the station, I would argue doing that before every pair. If people can just add 1 second to stop what they're doing and just completely shut down the conscious monologue of what's happening in their head and the physical process that they are doing, to ground themselves and reset so that the beginning of the next pair is a choice instead of a domino effect from the previous one, that in itself will solve so many problems that they're completely unaware of. Like, literally, that it will stop so many things that people don't even realize are happening.
Yes.
Just by doing that. Really, that's probably the most important thing that was said on the whole thing.
And that's where I'm going to jump in here a little bit, because, and listen, people, I'm not advocating for doing what I did. Okay. The 2 guys I got on the phone here with me that could shoot blind from the hip and smoke me. But what I am
don't undervalue what you did. It was pretty cool, Jason.
But what I'm getting at is, I mean, look, as far as results go, I'm humble enough to know that I'm not anyway. My point is, mentally, it was that taking a step back, the 1 second pause, right?
Yeah.
I literally, if I did something stupid, right, missed a target, in fact, at one point I iced a pair. I literally did take a step back, pulled the gun back over the rail. Of course, I'm conscious of my 20 seconds, right? And I was like, just reset, dude. You got to stop here a minute. What just happened? Okay. We know. All right. Now we know what happened. It was a visual thing, but it was that reset. It was that pause. Where I'm at now, I've learned to do that in the round. And I told you, David, I started on Thursday when I started shooting. I started implementing that, and it obviously paid off. But where I'm at now is, how can I do that going into the box to prevent that from happening, to prevent having to take that pause, right? So the pause now is coming before I make my plan, before I even see the showbirds. That pause is coming then. And that's where I was confused as to how do I make this work, right? What are the steps needed? And that's where I value the conversation that we're having right now. Both you and Tracy have laid things out here, and I hope the listeners are following along and taking, heeding what your warnings are, more or less, of what you need to do, because it works. And you're absolutely right. We're so reactionary. We fall in this vacuum of load the gun faster and get mad and try to shoot faster. And look, I've done all that for years. It obviously didn't work. I mean, I started shooting it way before either one of you did. I started shooting in 94. I mean,
I was a year old.
Shut up, David. I'm hanging up on you.
Graduated high school.
Old bastard.
But, well, I mean, look, yeah, I had a 12-year vacation from shooting, but what I'm getting at is nothing I've done's worked, right? And getting mad doesn't work. Getting frustrated doesn't work. I'm just going to drop 2 in and let it eat. Well, that obviously doesn't work. I mean, you can't, you got to take that pause. It's that 1 second pause. It's the step back. And then now, like I said, I'm at the point of let's fix that before it's broken.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think the framework of kind of what myself and David have been talking about, and what you discussing your experience of your really exceptional performance, I think it's having the framework set around your shooting to where you truly identify those things, and you truly become more self-aware than you have in the past. And I think that a lot of people discount it. They'll try it, they get a routine, and they're like, I didn't shoot very well, and it was the first day or whatever. And they really didn't get anything out of it because they didn't do it for an extended period of time to truly learn to self-identify and to truly learn their true process and to be able to make modifications to it,
Understanding that,
I think
Tracy.
that's important.
Yeah, understanding that alone. I mean, look, it was only 2 years, maybe it's been 3 years ago now. David was on a podcast, that whole be where your feet are thing, right? Being self-aware, being present, all that stuff. I didn't even understand that.
Yeah.
Well, that's probably more my fault than yours.
Yeah, well, but it's like, be where your feet are. I'm always where my feet are. What the hell are you talking about, right? So, but I did not comprehend that self-awareness. And now I do, right? And there's a lot of people listening to this that are probably going, what the hell are you talking about, dude? I know who I am and where I'm at. It's a little deeper than that, okay? You're going to need more than that.
It's kind of like what David said. He was in such a unique situation. And, and without me, honestly, being a shooter made me much better at my job at the treatment facility. And working at the treatment facility made me a much, much better shooter.
Here's Tracy.
Vice versa.
A quick
I don't think I ever would have ended up where I am without that experience, and David certainly had a really unique experience, so that's why I think that's where the value comes from, guys like David who have had, who are tremendously insightful and who have really, really respect and value. And I think, their teaching, I think that's where you really get the value from guys like him.
Well, I'm sitting here laughing, Tracy, because your job is in psychology. A quick trip on a golf cart through the sporting clay course. We'll see if you're in psychology, it's really going to help your job. So you just summed up sporting clays all together.
Oh man.
But
yeah, I think thanks. Thank you, Tracy. I appreciate that. I really, honestly, I feel the same way, about you, because I mean, everything that we're talking about here is not a shooting thing. It's a human thing. And think about, like, for people that are listening to this, what we're talking about here with just the simplistic thing of the 1 second pause to ground yourself and exit the reactive loop. That is an answer to anger management, to social anxiety, to panic attacks, to public speaking, to, literally everything.
Yeah. Driving on the road.
Yeah, everything. Yeah. And if you have what Tracy's talking about here, with your career experience in psychology, those are applications that have been, researched and tested and used in human psychology for decades. And there's a reason why it works. And there's also a reason why there is a need for it. And one of the things that I try to take so seriously, and which is why it's so valuable to have somebody like Tracy, both as a coach and on a podcast, is because I think a big mistake that a lot of us do as shooters, not just coaches, but as shooters, a big mistake that a lot of us do is not recognize the bridge between life and shooting. And how all of the things that revolve around, everybody says that, the game is 90% mental, or what Yogi Berra's famous thing of, 50% of the game is 100% mental, or whatever it is, any of those things like that. Like, if that's true, which it is, and everything that we're doing in the game is applicable in other parts of life, there's two really valuable takeaways from that. Number one is you don't have to look just to shooting coach to understand the psychology, because in all actuality, that's probably the worst place to look, because we're the least educated. And then the second thing is you don't have to be in a tournament to practice it. It's a thing that every day in life, if you get frustrated with your spouse, or you get, you're nervous walking in front of a board to give a presentation, the same exact physiological change in your body is happening as it does on the course. It's because of a different variable and an external input, but it's the same thing. And so you can, just like the whole monologue that I went on about starting this game as a kid and mastering I shouldn't say mastering, but getting really good at a skill for a game ended up bleeding into my life. That was only because the game happened before my life. But the reality of it is it's also the complete opposite. And if you start the game later on in life, how your life happened influences the game. And so that means that in life you can practice the game. And it's super, super valuable.
I love it.
Awesome.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Hey, have you guys, and we're going to wrap this one up here. Have you guys seen, well, I know you haven't because I just released it. Have you guys, David, you've seen the cooler, the big frig cooler. Yeah. You need to check the video out. I just released. Really, really cool. And for the Dead Pair listeners that are attending the Dead Pair Blast, I am giving away 3 of them, a 10 quart, a 20 quart, and a 45 quart with the Dead Pair insignia on it. So we're going to add that to the list of goodies at the shoot. You guys are still coming, right? You promised you were. You told everybody.
Does the cooler come with El Jefe energy drinks in it?
We can make that happen, David.
Oh, yeah.
I can make that happen. And let's, man, listen, there's always a con with you. You're willing to do something as long as you get something else extra added to it.
Listen, my brain works in mysterious ways, Jason.
David, that's a rhetorical statement, brother. The whole world knows your brain works in mysterious. Your brain is a mystery, let alone how it works.
All statements were rhetorical, but maybe I'm just confused.
Oh, man. Yeah, no, seriously, guys, get signed up for the Dead Pair Blast. It's coming quick. We've got something special. I'm going to have Jake Spangler on. We're going to announce that's going to happen the day prior to the Dead Pair Blast. This is kind of big news that's coming out. Really cool thing we're putting together with Midway USA Foundation. Of course, all of our sponsors, Kolar Arms. Listen, they could probably even make a riblet for you if you really want to be like David.
But make sure you cook it right.
Oh, goodness. Fiocchi Ammunition. Love us some Fiocchi USA. We're fueled by Fiocchi here on the Dead Pair podcast. Ranger. Both of you, David, I think you got to check out the new Ranger Hyper Shots. They fit your big head pretty good. Tracy, have you had a chance to check those out yet?
I haven't been able to get them in my hands yet.
I'm telling you.
I'm looking forward to it though.
You'll love them. They're awesome.
I don't think I have not.
I showed them to
you.
you.
Brand new one, right?
Yeah, I showed them to you at the Jack Links back in February. You thought they were cool.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Atlas Traps, American-made Atlas Traps. Tracy loves him some Atlas Traps. Tracy, what do you got? 8, 9, 10 of them now?
I got 8 of them.
8 of them.
I want to buy about 300 more.
You know what? We're going to make that happen on this phone call as soon as we get done here recording.
Oh, God. You're talking about scheming, Jason. I don't know about that.
Yes. And we're going to give it the Riblet discount. Rhino chokes. Listen, I'm trying to get Scott Dixon on here to give us an update since the fire, but they are up and cranking. They're rolling. They're still in full production. But thankfully, everybody's okay, and they're getting things turned back around. So, but love us some Rhino chokes and barrel porting. Gun and Trophy Insurance. If you guys are not insured by Gun and Trophy, you are doing yourself a huge discredit. David, have you checked them out yet?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. Tracy?
I was uninsurable.
What?
I was uninsurable.
I wasn't talking about life insurance. Nobody would give you a life insurance policy. I'm talking about for your firearms. Midway USA Foundation, I cannot say enough good things about them and what they do for youth shooting. Over $500 million to youth shooting this year. So,
wow.
Man, yes.
$500 million.
$500 million. Yes, sir.
Wow.
So, unbelievable. Yeah. Taconic Distillery. Hey, listen, everybody's heard me brag about the pre-made old fashioned. Guess what? Now they got pre-made Manhattan. So they've got some new blends they came out with that are absolutely, just the best. I love them. They're awesome. Check them out at taconicdistilleries.com. Both them and Ranger get a 10% discount. Use the code DEADPAIR10 at checkout. Long Range. Love us some Long Range and Neil Chadwick. Thank you for supporting the show. The absolute best and target technology when it comes to remote controls and receivers, target tag software. Tracy, you got a T8, you run the MT4300, don't you?
No, I'm a T8 right now.
You're a T8? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to fix
Which
that.
I love.
Because with the 300 traps, you're going to need to handle more than 8 traps. So
I'll have to upgrade. But so far, that T8 has been a great controller.
I love that thing. That's my personal controller.
Voice?
Yes. Yep.
Yes. Super simple, really easy to use. It's fantastic for training by yourself.
And if you got 4 students, David, you can hit all 8 traps at one time. Have like a 4-man flurry.
My fingers are twitching already.
Yeah. All right. There's another sale before we hang up the phone. Score Chaser. Listen, if you're signing up for a tournament here in the United States, I guarantee it's through Score Chaser. Thank you to Casey Chase and all the girls over there. We're going to give you an update next week on Tourney Talk. Odo Pro Technologies. We got something coming with Dr. Grace. I'm actually recording with her this week, so look for that coming out. El Jefe Energy, they have finally made their way to the East Coast. I saw them in Georgia when I was traveling up from Ohio. They're coming. In fact, the wife looked it up on the phone, and some of the distributorship is now happening in Southern Ohio, and now it's in Florida. Bear Pelt Vest. Did you see my new Bear Pelt, David? The new El Jefe vest I got?
Yeah, no.
Oh, man, that thing's sharp. I'm not going to show it to Tracy. He's going to have to come to Dead Pair Blast to check it out.
Oh, come on. That's a dirty pool.
See, I got a little con in me too every once in a while. And of course, Make or Break. We've got a big update coming from Ed. Like I said, we got to get caught up, man. We're like 3 state shoots behind on results. So he's going to come on with us. And I love hearing from Ed. He's so well-spoken. And
Ed's the man.
He is. Except for when I call for 1-7, I keep hearing 1 point. It's like, come on, Ed. But seriously, thank you to all of our sponsors. Listen, we say it each and every week. Take someone new shooting. Take them to a tournament. There's a new video out. I just took Conservative K, who is a big, huge online influencer. I just took her out shooting, her and her son, for the first time. They had a blast. She's hooked. They want to go buy a gun. Her son wants to go to some tournaments and check that out. I mean, look, all it took was taking them shooting one time. She has never fired a shotgun. She is a rep for the NRA. She shoots rifles and pistols all the time. Never fired a shotgun. Took her out to blackjack. Thank you to the folks over there for being so welcoming. And she's hooked. She's ready to buy a gun and start shooting. So that's all it takes, folks. It's that simple. It's the only way we're going to grow this sport. It's grassroots stuff like that right there that makes it happen. Guys, this has been awesome. Thank you very much for joining us again for part 2. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, David.
Yeah, Tracy.
Well, guys, you guys are always welcome back here. David, we have to, I got to get permission.
Be careful with that statement when it comes to me. I'm not so sure. You might need to hire personal security.
Well, I got to get permission slips from the listeners, But it's always a good time being around David. I'm telling you, we have a blast. We were laughing so hard the other day on the phone, I about wrecked the truck. But it's the 3x3. I get 3 hours of conversation every 3 months, and I'm about 2.5 minutes from losing my 3 privilege for the next 3 months.
You're pushing it.
Yeah, we're in August. So I got September, October. Damn it, I'm not gonna be able to talk to you till November, man.
I'll talk to you after the Nationals. Let you know how it went.
Yeah, well, my birthday's in November, so you can at least call for that, right? That'll be 3 months.
We'll see. Yeah.
Oh man, it's always fun having you guys on. Really appreciate it. Tracy, I'm sure we'll be talking to you sooner than later. You've been an awesome co-host, and appreciate you filling in for the big man here and there.
It's a privilege. It's an honor and a privilege.
Well, we appreciate you, brother. All right, folks, listen, thank you very much. I don't know to say congratulations or sorry for taking 2 episodes with David, but either way, we got her done, and I hope everybody learned something. Don't hesitate to write us suggestions, ideas, comments, concerns. If it's about David, I promise it won't go to spam mail. Until next week, my friends, can't wait to catch y'all back here on the Dead Pair Podcast.
We'll see you next time on the Dead Pair Podcast.
The Dead Pair Podcast is brought to you by Kolar Arms, America's competition shotgun, and is fueled by Fiocchi USA. The Dead Pair theme song was written, arranged, and produced by Toby Tomplay. Big thanks to the following sponsors: RE Ranger. See it further, see it faster with Ranger Performance Eyewear. Atlas Traps. Arms, America's finest clay target equipment. Gun and trophy insurance. Protect your prized possessions with the best insurance. Rhino Chokes, the best chokes and barrel porting in the world. Taconic Distillery. After the tournament, it's time for one more shot with Taconic Distillery. Long range, the industry standard for trap release and target management. Score Chaser, your shoots simplified. Midway USA Foundation, changing the future of youth shooting sports. Odo Pro Technologies, the trusted source for hearing protection. Bear Pelt, it's not just a vest, it's your new uniform. El Jefe Energy, fuel for the fearless. And JTech, the Dead Pair Podcast's technology partner.